If you're confused about what it's like to get your emails written by me and you're hesitating about booking a call, I want to really pull back the curtain on what my exact email writing process is like when I'm writing for clients. So I just started writing these emails for a new client. So I thought I would walk you through what I did for those first few emails so that I would be able to write them in a way that her subscribers would love and in a way that would get them to take action while also making them sound like her voice, her brand. So, first things first, I went back and forth and read a bunch of existing emails and social media posts that she'd already set up in her autoresponder. And now I want to show you what that process looks like. So here's what I do with those notes. I take notes and copy and paste some of content into my notes document right here. Now I made them smaller just so it's not like super obvious everything that I wrote. Um, so I separate these notes into four separate categories to keep it organized for me when I'm writing. So in these style notes here, I'm pasting parts of the content that give a good idea what her voice and style sound like so I can start replicating it as I'm writing. So whenever I'm not sure what she should be sounding like, I'm going back to this part. Um, After that, we have the benefits and pain points part. So those are specific benefits, pain points, outcomes that people can get from the product or service. Um, those can come from existing emails or websites, but it can also come from like an onboarding call I have with someone, a sales deck, something like that. In this particular case, I was already pretty familiar with where to find this information because I've written other types of content for this brand before. So I knew exactly where to go to find this information. Then we have a section for features. This is a very dry section where it's just hard facts. This is what you get. This is how it works. I often use these to inform exactly what's going on with the benefits and pain point section. And then finally, we have VOC. VOC stands for Voice of Customer Data. So in the case of this brand, I went to the G2 website and looked at reviews from customers to see what they were saying about the product. But if you're a service provider, I would also look at your testimonials and also at your reviews from your competitors and just essentially copy and paste really important parts that I find valuable. So this step is super important because it lets me know the exact wording that your ideal customers use to describe you, your brand, your products, services, etc., so that then I can take that information and reflect it back in the email copy. You'll notice the VOC in my notes. I've highlighted some sections. I do this when I spot like a particularly powerful snippet from a review that I'll probably want to use in my email later. Sometimes those can be ideas for email topics or subject lines or calls to action, etc. So once I have all this information, then the outlining for the emails can start. So in this case, I was writing the first three emails of a drip sequence to convince people to sign up. So what I'll usually do, so this is what the outline would look for the first email. I would give the email a title. In this case, I've removed the title once again to make it look not too obvious exactly what I wrote. I just renamed it to email one. Sometimes I will add specific notes from the client about the email. Like maybe you want to say like, oh, I really want to mention this specific story in this specific email, or I really want this specific benefit to be highlighted in this email. If you don't give me any notes, then I just come up with a strategy or direction on my own. So before I write the actual email, I outline what I want the email to include. So I put in some bullet points here. I have a two-screen setup. So right now, I'm just going back and forth on the single screen because I'm recording the screen. But usually I will have this document here in my second screen over on the other side and have the email draft on one side so that it's really easy for me to copy and paste or inspire myself. I will always leave space for a hook. Usually the hook will be the last thing I write when I'm actually drafting. Sometimes I will come up with something during the outline. Sometimes also I will pull like very specific sections from the notes, put them into a bullet point, and then later rephrase it using using copywriting techniques or something like that. But when it's in the outline, I'm just making sure that everything is there so that your email can perform the way that it's supposed to perform. So once I have everything, that's when I actually turn these into non-bullet points and then start actually turning those into proper sentences, a proper email flow. Then once it's all written up, I will make sure I come up with a proper hook. uh, Sometimes I'll leave myself some notes. So for example, here I wrote agitate the pain here. So I know that the specific words weren't here, but I remind myself that, okay, here it's really important that we agitate the pain points. So when it's already all written out, I read the email back several times, first to make sure there are no typos, to make sure that it flows really well, that the email is doing what it's supposed to do, that it sounds good. But then I also read it back to make sure that it sounds like you. So if I read it back and I feel like it's missing um some of your unique voice, some of your fire, then I will go back into this document. I will go through the style notes again, and I will see where I can sprinkle some of your personality back into the email. And once that is done, I send it over to you and it is good for you to use. So I hope that this clears up a bit of what it's like to work with me, to have me write your emails for you. And now I actually have room for 2 more email clients before the end of 2022. So if you would like me to write an email sequence that nurtures your subscribers and get them to buy, just use the link below to book a call on my calendar, and I will speak to you soon.